Hi everybody, how are you?
Hey.
Any chair will be great, thank you. Okay, hi. So I would just like to say, thank you. Yeah, this is her. One second. Okay, hi. I'd like to make an announcement, okay? Your discretion advised. The following story is not brought to you by the patriarchy, but by the matriarchy. Thank you very much. That's it, listen down. So the name of the story is called Too Much Woman, okay? And I'm doing it tonight in honor of Women's History Month. I know, it's okay. Picture this. It's 1972 and I'm 8 years old. My dad and I are listening to Roberta Flack on the phonograph. People always talk about man's inhumanity to man, but what you trying to do to make this a better land? Just pick up your paper, turn on your TV, you see a lot of demonstrations for equality. But folks wouldn't have to suffer if there was more love, but these are trying times. Hell yeah, trying times. So then I turned to my dad. Scarily relevant, however many years later. So I turned to my dad and I said to my dad, hey Dad, what does Roberta Flack mean when she's talking about man's inhumanity to man? And my dad looks at me with this exhausted face, and he goes, well, Vic, I don't want to be a bat in your belfry or a fly in your ointment or a hair in your soup, but I gotta tell you like it is. People are assholes. And the sooner you realize this, the better you'll be. That was my dad. Ed Reeves, classic Ed Reeves. Salt of the earth, no BS, straight from the hip. So growing up in my family was kind of like being in a Woody Allen film. I don't know if you remember that scene from Annie Hall. It's like the Easter dinner and everybody's gesticulating and pontificating wildly and trying to vie for space. That was like a scene at the dinner table. Funny on film, exhausting in real life. Now, my dad was on this mission to help us improve our vocabulary, so he spent $40, which was a lot in the 70s, and bought one of those hardback Webster's dictionaries that he would keep next to the dining room table. And every night before we could eat dinner, we had to open the dictionary and point to a word that we didn't know. Did your parents do this? Yeah. Okay. I know. And look what happened over here. And so we had to point to a word we didn't know and then say the definition, the part of speech, and use it correctly in a sentence. Okay? And then we could eat. And the other thing my dad was really into was incorporating politics into absolutely everything. So we always had like talk radio and 60 Minutes and some form of the news on in our house, okay? And our dinner conversations were about stuff like this. Watergate, Vietnam, the energy crisis. You know, fun stuff. And so we were like allowed to weigh in as long as we could back our point with facts and get our whatever we had to say in within about 3 minutes. Because that was as long as my dad could wait before he had to share his thoughts yet again. So living with my dad was kind of like being forced to listen to Rush Limbaugh day after day after day, and always being a caller on hold waiting to say my opinion. I did get a chance to share more when we would join my dad on his business trips, okay? So we would pile in a car, we'd all end up in some Midwestern city, and my mom and my sister would like whip off to go shopping and buy tchotchkes, and I would stay back with my dad at the hotel bar where we would entertain his clients. So the drinks and the opinions would be flowing freely, and they'd be talking about like business and politics and the economy, and I would be holding my virgin Bloody Mary and waiting for my turn to share. You know, I think it's was good that those draft dodgers were pardoned, because if I was a teenage boy, I wouldn't want to have to go to Vietnam either. Way to silence a room of Republicans. Hey, Ed, your daughter's really opinionated, just like you. My dad's client, Ben Peace, laughed. I wasn't sure if my dad was proud of me or embarrassed about my intellect, but either way, he let me come and he let me share. And in a really very basic way, he gave me my first platform. Okay. So you might be wondering right now about my mother. She was kind of quiet, and she acquiesced to my dad a lot in conversation. But there were things that she had very strong opinions about, mainly the role of women and girls. So when I would see my mom like tweezing her eyebrows or squishing her feet into tiny high-heeled shoes, and I would say to her, "Why do you do that? It looks like it hurts." And then my mom would be like, "Well, Nick, I do it for your father, because it hurts to be beautiful." Okay. And then when I was 10, I had my first boyfriend, Mark Hutchinson. And I was going over to Mark Hutchinson's house to play Monopoly, and my mom was like, "Nick, remember to lose, because boys don't like girls who win." I know. So I thought she was crazy, right? And I just was like, yeah, I don't know about a lot of this stuff. But my mom had grown up in this generation of women who went to college to get their MRS degree. So she wanted a man who was like tall, dark, and handsome, the house in the suburbs, the kids, the whole nine. And I think that she thought I wanted it too, but I didn't. I had all these questions about what it meant to be a woman. Like, couldn't I be pretty and smart at the same time? And why would I have to squish myself into something smaller than I was just to get the attention of a boy? My other question was, well, if I don't want to be my mom, then what kind of woman am I going to become? Like, should I be angry like Gloria Steinem? Or do I have to fight the battle of the sexes like Billie Jean King? Like, I just really didn't know. But all I did know is that I was getting all these messages from the world that somehow I was too much. So in 7th grade, my breast came in. I know. And basically the boys started freaking out. The Gierzik twins, who shall forever remain famous in my mind, started throwing snowballs at me after school and calling me slut. I hadn't even kissed a boy yet. Girls started treating me weird, and boys in ballroom dance class who were shorter than me suddenly wanted to dance with me a lot. My curvaceous body evidently was too much for my grandfather, who, in a rare moment of altruism, decided to take me to Marshall Fields to the Junior Miss department to buy me a suit for graduation. And I went in the dressing room, and I was trying on these skirts that were too small for my hips, and then these jackets that were too small for my upper body. And my grandfather, I could hear him outside the dressing room. He was getting really impatient. And then finally he goes, "You know, if you weren't so fat, we would have been out of here an hour ago." Loud enough so that everybody could hear. What he didn't realize is that designers hadn't caught up with the fact that women come in different shapes and sizes yet. So I said, "You know what, I don't even need a suit, it's fine, let's just go." But it wasn't fine, because I wanted a suit. So I told my parents, let's sign up for the sewing class at Sears, and I made my own suit. Thank you. And I've been making my own clothes for a long time since then. Okay. So right around this time, my mom got really sick. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I watched her go from a cane to a walker to a wheelchair, which was really scary and really sad. But Mom was super spiritual. She was a Christian Scientist, and she used to pray every day. And she would say to me, "God is up and down and all around." Mom made us go to Sunday school, which was not my favorite place to go. There weren't a lot of opportunities for intellectual discourse at church. But sometimes the teacher would let us ask questions in the last 10 minutes of class. So one day I raised my hand and she looked really nervous. And then I was like, well, I'm just trying to understand this. Like, you say that God is really good and God is here to protect us, but my mom prays every single day to your God, and she keeps getting sicker and sicker. So how does that work? And then she got this really fake smile on her face, and she was like, oh, Victoria, it's not for us to question God's will. Look at the time we have to go. But I did have questions about God's will, and along with about 1 million other people, because right around that time, Rabbi Kushner came out with a book entitled When Bad Things Happen to Good People, which made the New York Times bestseller list. So I started to realize that the problem was not with my questions, but the problem was with the people that I was asking the questions to. I started to listen to my own voice and less to the voices of other people, and I spent a lot more time alone. I ended up in the philosophy section of the Flossmoor Public Library, where I discovered existentialism. While other girls were curling up with 17 magazine, I would read Sartre and Camus and Simone de Beauvoir. And sitting up in the tree, looking down on my neighborhood from this different vantage point, I started to figure a couple things out. Number one, it was great that I asked a lot of questions and held my own with my dad at those business trips. Number two, it was great that I made my own clothes instead of feeling bad about the clothes from the store not fitting me. And number three, that it took a lot of courage for me to keep asking these questions when people kept telling me that I should stop asking questions. I was brave, like those women in Ms. Magazine. Yes. So I figured to myself, there must be a place where I could be my real self and do what I really wanted to do, and there must be other people out there who felt the same way that I did, and I began my journey to find them. Thank you very much.